Time now for Food with Fred. Fred Zossman joins me with more on the legacy of President Jimmy Carter and Mrs. Carter from a food perspective. Now, we talked about his passing over the weekend, and we knew it was coming, but we just didn't know when. And he really left a legacy in 100 years.
Yes, particularly in the food world. People might not think about that, but Jimmy and Rosalind Carter really changed the country's perception of Southern food. They brought the food they grew up with into the White House and served things like grits and cornbread.
Which was very different for the White House. They were like, what is happening in this kitchen?
Yeah.
But a welcome change. This was one of the dishes that kind of raised an eyebrow, you told me.
Well, some of the people criticized the fact that they did bring these simple foods like collard greens and sweet potatoes into the White House. This comes out of the National Archives. It's Mrs. Carter's recipe for a simple cheese ring. And she, believe it or not, was criticized for serving a cheese ring.
I would applaud her if she walked into my house with this.
At White House receptions. But this is very simple. It's grated cheddar cheese. It's chopped nuts, in this case pecans. It's mayonnaise, Duke's mayonnaise, grated onion, cayenne pepper, black pepper, and strawberry preserves in the middle. And Mrs. Carter always made her own strawberry preserves.
And you don't have to be a chef to do this. I mean, this is very simple. Let's talk recipe. You talk the ingredients, but I'm guessing you kind of just throw it all in a bowl and then mold it. You've got a beautiful shape here.
Yeah, my wife is responsible for the shape. I blended it, sort of mushed it together with my hands. But yeah, it looks nice with the Christmas color in the middle.
Yeah, a great dish for the holidays especially.
All right. The Carters, when they moved into the White House in 1977, the chef there was a classically trained Swiss chef named Henry Haller. And they actually taught him how to make grits, and they taught him how to make cornbread. And at Christmas time, the Carters would always make what's called a Lane cake. It's an old Georgia recipe from the 1890s, a sponge cake with a boiled icing. And the filling has butter, sugar, eggs, raisins, and alcohol like bourbon.
You're speaking my language.
The children weren't allowed to eat it.
Okay, well then more for the adults, that's fine.
Yeah, but yes, I think if you look back to that period in the 70s, you'll see the Carters' influence if you go through food sections of newspapers, because lots of peanut recipes. Of course, they were peanut farmers. The peanut logo was part of his campaign. So you'll see peanut soup, peanut butter pie, all kinds of things. And they really, I think, changed Americans' view of the food that we enjoy here in the South.
And are these cookbooks over here? Or are these just books on Jimmy Carter?
This is my favorite Jimmy Carter book, An Hour Before Daylight.
Okay.
This story about growing up during the Depression. And this is a book about how the Carters celebrated Christmas. They went back to Plains when he was president every year at Christmas, except for 1980. Because of the Iranian hostage crisis, they stayed in Washington that year, but up to that point they went back to Plains every year and ate Lane cakes and hors d'oeuvres like this one. And
you got to remember your roots, and you always got to go home for the holidays. And you've got a great dish for the holidays, or really just any day to share. We're going to post this on our website, so you'll have the recipe right there. And this is the final product, so you know what it's supposed to look like. Let's get that recipe on the screen for Miss Carter's plain special cheese ring. Don't forget those optional strawberry preserves. In my opinion, not optional. We need them. Start off your new year right with a new dish. We'll be right back.